Good morning, everyone, and look at this. I had no idea someone was making a Halo Infinite or a Halo series for TV or streaming download or whatever. And it's the person who's in production wants it to be like Game of Thrones but without incest, which is like, okay, that's a good premise to start with. I don't know if you can compare a low fantasy epic to a science fiction first person shooter narrative. I mean, it's possible. I don't know how much characterization there is in the games. I'm not a Halo guy, so I can't argue this, but I'm very curious. This article got my attention off GameSpot.com. Let's go through it. Halo TV show is on the way with Orange is the New Black actor Pablo Schreiber as Master Chief, and Microsoft has bold ambitions for it. 343 Industries transmedia boss Kiki Wolfkill. Is that a real person? Okay. Wow, I gotta Google that. Kiki Wolfkill. All right, that is a person, I guess. Said recently that the Halo show is aiming to be similar to Game of Thrones in some ways. All right, now saying your show is going to be like Game of Thrones in some ways could mean many things. Game of Thrones was groundbreaking when it first came out, at least in its first season. The drama, the storytelling, the adaptation, everything was pretty impressive. Production value, of course. It's hard to find an analog. We talk about Game of Thrones a lot in terms of scope and scale. Okay, so that means they've got a lot of money to play with, or else they wouldn't be talking about it. She said in the latest episode of the AS Game Maker's Notebook podcast with Insomniac Games CEO Ted Price. Cool, okay. I'll watch that later. Wolfkill. Kiki Wolfkill. Okay, cool. Pointed out that, like Game of Thrones, the Halo series is steeped in politics. Now, as soon as I saw that, excuse me, I'm thinking, oh God, that's going to be horrible because we're thinking politics of today, all the crazy SJW crap. But slow down. Wait, let's read the sentence over. Game of Thrones politics. So they're talking about the politics of the people in the story, not infusing politics of today into our narrative. So it's obviously not an apolitical story. It's about whatever is in the world of Halo and the politics therein. I don't know what that is. Again, I'm not a Halo guy or expert on the lore, but I'm assuming there's some sort of military hierarchy, and people are not perfect soldiers, and they break down, and there's all these power struggles, I'm guessing. But that's as far as I could take my imagination with a first-person shooter franchise in the future with space marines and aliens. A lot of background of Halo is this sort of political drama. Really, is it? I had no idea. It's something that is touched on really lightly in the games. Uh-oh. Why would you want to make politics one of the main themes of a story if it's really lightly in the games and you see more of it in some other mediums? Okay, so maybe other, like comic books or whatever. Some of that Game of Thrones style complexity is interesting. Okay, maybe. I mean, it's possible. I don't know. Maybe she's right. Unlike Game of Thrones, however, the Halo TV show will not feature incest. Well, that's good, but that's irrelevant. She was personally impressed with the first seasons of Game of Thrones. I think we all were. That followed the narrative books closely. Well, there you go. Because the books were so good, and they didn't deviate from that too much. There was a shift from the writing of George R.R. This change felt deserved, and you can understand why changes were made. Okay, so maybe she's aware of the book, or books, and the changes in the first season for adapting to a TV show. That's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with adapting to a TV show. It depends on what you keep, what you don't, what you change, and how you format that all for the television format. So it's like actors are going to do their own thing. They got to keep that in mind. They want to improvise. You have to see if that's okay. A lot of details you have to be careful of. A lot, especially in the first season or the first part, where you have to build stuff up. You have to get things ready to go to get paid off in season 10 or 12 or whatever. So, hey, that's good that someone is that ambitious with the Halo brand, making it into a show, which means they have to plan it out before they start writing the first chapter. Wolfkill also spoke about how she gets bothered when people say it's impossible. Well, it's we just have history behind us to prove that. Just because it hasn't been done before or rarely, that doesn't mean it cannot be done. Okay, I like this person. She's actually saying, "Hey, you can do it. It's just hard to do." I was like, "Yeah, I agree. It is hard to do. Who are you to say you can do it?" That's my question. It's not because you can't. It's because it's a really hard challenge, and everyone's still trying to figure it out. Okay, yeah, I'm with you. You have my interest there, Kiki, Mrs. Wolfkill. Hopefully, you don't kill the franchise like some of the dogs in Game of Thrones, but okay. Or sorry, the wolves in Game of Thrones. There's something inherent in the format of video games that makes it impossible to adapt. It's just a hard challenge. Really, day to day, we are making decisions on what can change, what shouldn't change, and what we bend. Oh, cool. Yeah. So let's take an example of Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, that's going to be a strange one to adapt because in the story you play as a mute, uh, memory lost hero guy who used to be a massively popular war leader. So, and there's all these twists and plot reveals and what have you. So, you really have to get the feeling of that experience, which just so happens to be a video game with all this pacing and all these other characters running around. That's hard to do because as soon as you jump to a TV show or movie or whatever, that is the point of the experience. It's supposed to be a passive, narrative driven series of characters running around. Now, it's not to say the KOTOR is not like that, but it's going to be very hard because once you have a once you have a quiet, fish out of water character for most of the story, it's a little different. Now, you would then have to either keep that character at arm's length the entire show and have a different protagonist, or you'd have to get the feeling of being Revan or not knowing you're Revan and then becoming Revan the same, which is, I mean, you have to figure that out. You have to imagine what a typical audience member would experience when having that transition from game to screen. Another hugely important part of making the Halo TV show shine is 343 humbling itself and recognizing the team at Showtime knows more about TV. See, this is where the argument comes in. Do you want a TV producer making a TV show? Obviously, that would be a good idea, but they have to know the source material, and that's where I would be a little cautious with 343 saying, "Hey, whoa. We need a creative consultant who's calling the shots here. You're the one in charge of making the thing and how to make it look good properly because you know best. But let's have the writer of the Halo franchise, which I don't even know who that is, on set, just the same way George R. R. Martin was on set for making the show. Putting a lot of trust. You have to be humble. The hardest part. Leap of faith. That's true. Okay, that's fine. It's a give and take. 5 years. Wow. 5 years working on this thing already. Key talent dropping out. The original TV show director explains why he left. Who was the original TV show director? Uh-oh. That doesn't sound good. Otto Bathurst. All these interesting names. Otto Bathurst. When it's finally released, no matter how it's received, Wolfkill said she and her team will be proud about going about it the right way. You know what? That's a good feeling. I mean, it sounds like she's positive. She's ambitious. She's like, everything's great. It's hard to do. We're doing it. Everything's okay. I wouldn't expect them to be like, oh, this is horrible. We can't do it. And we're struggling. Well, obviously, they have to say something positive in an interview. Price chimed in to say, who's Price? The reason many video game movies and TV shows have been mediocre or worse. I would argue a lot of TV shows have been pretty good these past 10 years. I don't know about you, but TV has to compete with Netflix and other streaming services, so they have to up their game, and I think they have. Because Netflix is really setting the bar. Because people from gaming assume they know how to make a good TV show or movie. I don't know. Is that the case? I'm not so sure. I don't think that's the problem. I think it's because you have some cheap ass directors and producers who take franchises and don't know what to do with them. And that's why you had such amazing story, not amazing, but really, really good streaming TV with Castlevania, for example, where the creators are like, no, we are hardcore Castlevania fans. We're going to adapt the script from Castlevania 3 and Symphony of the Night and whatever else they worked with into this believable fantasy world. I think it's been largely successful. There's lots of details I'm a little pissed off about, but that's concessions you make to get a good story. And the interpretation from that creator, director person, writer person was good. It was pretty good. And obviously the production value was great. And that's all we really want. Good production value, stay close to the script, get good actors, and you're good. So this is interesting. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Halo Infinite to be like Game of Thrones. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a great morning, guys.